You could start.
Okay, welcome councillors, council staff, welcome to everyone in the gallery and those streaming at home. Our meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Gunditj, Chamara, Tapwarong, Jardwar, Jarlee and Boondig people. I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past and present. Please note all council meetings will be audio recorded and may be live streamed to council's social media platform, with the exception of matters identified as confidential items in the agenda. By participating in open council meetings, individuals consent to the use and disclosure of the information they share at the meeting, including any personal and or sensitive information. Other than an official council recording, no video or audio recording of proceedings of council meetings will be allowed without the permission of council. I'd firstly like to move a motion that standing orders be suspended to allow the CEO to administer the oath or affirmation of office to Councillor-elect Tamsin Ramsey Grounds. If I could have a seconder, Councillor Rainsford. All those in favour? Carried. Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just call Councillor Ramsey Grounds forward. Welcome. In accordance with Section 30 of the Local Government Act 2020, a person elected as a councillor must take the oath of office or affirmation of office and also acknowledge to abide by the Model Councillor Code of Conduct. Councillor-elect Tam Ramsey Grounds has been provided with a copy of the Model Code of Conduct and will now recite the oath.
I, Tamsin Ramsey Grounds, swear by Almighty God that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the municipal community. I will abide by the Model Councillor Code of Conduct and uphold the standards of conduct set out in the Model Councillor Code of Conduct. I will faithfully and impartially carry out and exercise the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 2020 and any other act to the best of my skill and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll now ask Councillor Tam to sign the oath and the Model Code of Conduct.
It's a bit shaky, is that okay?
It's all right.
It's a bit of a wobbly table, Mr. Mayor.
I'm not taking the heat for the table.
Thank you. I'll just witness that signature.
Oh, sorry, Mr. CEO. Oops. Sorry about that. I do know the difference.
And we'll now ask you to sign the Councillor Code of Conduct. So congratulations and welcome, Councillor Ramsey Grounds. Over there with the other councillors. Thank you.
Congratulations. Excellent.
Councillor Ramsey Grounds, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just move a motion that standing orders be resumed. If I could have a seconder. Councillor Barber. All those in favour? Carried. Item 3, Councillor Campbell will lead the meeting in prayer.
Almighty God, grant this council wisdom, understanding and sincerity of purpose for the good governance of this Shire. Amen.
Item 4, there are no apologies. Item 5, confirmation of minutes. I move that the minutes of the council meeting held on 14 April 2026 and the confidential council meeting held on 14 April 2026 be confirmed as a correct record of business transacted. If I could have a seconder. Councillor Campbell. All those in favour? Carried. Item 6, no declaration of interest. Item 7, there's no leave of absence. Item 8, there's no questions on notice. Item 9, there are no public deputations. Item 10, petitions. Item 10.1, petition Leigh Street, Hamilton. A petition with 34 signatures has been received requesting that Council consider not gifting 11 Leigh Street, Hamilton to Women's Housing Limited. The recommendation is that the petition be received by Council and officers provide a report back to Council. If I could have a seconder. Councillor Barber. All those in favour? Carried. Item 10.2, petition Grosvenor Place, Hamilton. A petition with 45 signatures has been received requesting that Council consider not disposing of Grosvenor Place, Hamilton. The recommendation is that the petition be received by Council and officers provide a report back to Council. If I could have a seconder. Councillor Rainsford. All those in favour? Carried. Item 11, informal meetings of councillors. Informal meeting of councillors record was kept for briefing sessions on 14 April, 28 April and 5 May. Item 12, management reports. 12.1, approved budget documents including pricing register for public exhibition. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Southern Grampians Shire Council is pleased to present the 2026-27 budget, which delivers on our council plan and aligns with our long-term community vision. The budget and the accompanying long-term financial plan 2026 to 2036 have been developed through extensive community engagement and a strong financial framework. Our focus remains on operational efficiency and cost reduction so we can continue investing in community infrastructure and services. This approach has supported 3 consecutive years of record capital program delivery, including upgrades to buildings, roads, playgrounds and sporting facilities. For 2026-27, Council proposes a 2.75% rate increase, consistent with the rate cap set by the Minister and lower than last year's 3%. However, the rate cap continues to sit below CPI, widening the gap between revenue and rising costs. This makes efficiency essential to maintaining services, delivering major intergenerational projects and meeting core obligations such as road maintenance. We have distributed key spending to support our road network with close to $6 million allocated specifically for these key assets. Additionally, allocations have been made for footpaths, playgrounds, facilities and more to ensure these assets are kept in good operating condition. Councillors, as requested, this budget is before you to endorse public exhibition. Council completed extensive early consultation with the community between November 2025 and January 2026 to inform the budget. The exhibition period will provide further community engagement, allowing for comment on the draft document. Councillor, I understand we're going out for to the public for exhibition and comment, but I just want to acknowledge what a huge task it is to put together the budget, and wanted to thank the councillors for a start. You've sat in a number of briefing sessions to get the document to where it is today. So thank you for your time and patience. It's really appreciated. And I'd also like to acknowledge the finance team, led by Nick Templeton, who's in the room with us today, and just would like to thank them for all their work they've done to get the document to where it is today, and for our senior leadership team and our executive team for their support as well. There's a lot of work goes into developing a budget like this, and everybody's done it in good humour, so thank you. Councillors, the recommendation is before you for your consideration.
If I could have a mover. Councillor Manning.
I move that Council 1 endorse the draft budget 2026-2027, long-term financial plan 26 to 36, and pricing register 2026 to 2027 to be released for public comment for 2 weeks, with the final documents presented at the 2nd of June 2026 Council briefing. 2, advertise the availability of the documents and options to provide feedback until the close of business on 26 May 2026 And 3, note that the final budget will proceed to a future council meeting for consideration of adoption.
Councillor Henry, is that you seconding or with the question line?
That's me seconding, yes, thank you.
Questions, Councillor Rainsford?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question is about grouping all of these documents together, considering that we've heard the state budget wasn't successful on the library, on the gallery, but that's just at this stage, and we're very much dependent on external funding. We're waiting for the federal budget, which doesn't start till this meeting's announcements don't start till 7:30. Is this long enough time to have just 2 weeks from today for the community? It's a huge amount of work for the staff, but it's even more difficult for the community to have the time and the input to actually understand what council's doing in a 2-week period. What could be the period that we could extend it to, and we could still get this budget adopted by the 30th of June? It's great that we're doing it for 2 weeks, which was better than last year, but my question is, it's worth an effort, but it's both sides, and what would be the time frame that we could even consider a longer extension?
Thank you, and through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for your question, Councillor. The old Act, before we went to the 2020 Act, had a stipulation that council must exhibit the budget for 28 days. So some councillors still, or councils I should say, still do that 28-day exhibition period. We're in your hands as it comes to this. Like, as far as the officers' side of things, whether we do it for 14 days or 28 days, we've still got to put together a briefing document for you. We've still also got to get the document prepared. But what it would mean is having to go to an extraordinary meeting, because we wouldn't meet the June meeting to be able to adopt the budget. So that would be something that council would have to resolve to as far as time.
Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, Director Barber, I just wanted to ask you, with costs on the long-term financial plan, especially material costs, for instance, we've got that capped at 1.5% over through 27-28, and then indexed for the next 10 years at 2%. Do you believe this is realistic, or is it just a case of us doing less in order to stay within that percentage?
Thank you.
I've got one more question after that.
Okay.
No, go.
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. Yeah, I do think it's realistic. We've got to be frugal in the way that we procure those services, and to be able to continue to be able to meet the infrastructure requirements and the service requirements we have within the budget, within that restraint. But that's through making sure we're procuring well, and also doing things like working with other councils to be able to procure services and materials. If we can do things efficiently that way, I think it is a realistic measure.
Councillor Campbell?
Yes, and Darren, what proportion, this is for a constituency, you may not know off the top of your head, but what proportion of our operating revenue is expected to come from grants over the next 4 to 10 years?
I might. We're lucky to have our manager or head of finance in the room today. Nick, would you have that with you, or is it something we might need to take on notice?
I probably need to take on notice, but I will say it does fluctuate quite a bit, because we've got grants in the budget and a high amount of grants for our major projects. So with those in there, some years it's, you know, over 25%, but other years it's below that because of those major projects. Their operating grants are reasonably static at around about the 10 million or a little bit over, and then the capital grants are the ones that fluctuate quite a bit.
So it's more to do with the operating grants, but that's okay.
Yeah. Councillor Barber?
Thank you. Director Barber, just with the, I've just noticed the 2% reduction on the rates if they are paid in full has been removed this time around. Just out of interest, do any other regional councils around Victoria offer anything like that, or is it something that it's quite rare?
Thanks for your question, councillor. We've done a bit of research around this, and it is quite rare. So we can only find actually 3 other councils within Victoria who actually offer a 2% discount or any discount on rates if they're paid up front. 2 of those are large metropolitan councils, and one of those is a large regional council. So it is rare. We also, our finance team did a ring around our local councils as well within our southwest region and within the network that we partner with for our IT services. And none of those councils offered a 2% discount as well. So it is quite uncommon.
Thank you.
Councillor Manning.
Yeah, Director Barber, just following up on that 2% discount, do we know how many of our residents accessed that discount last year and how much we expect to save from no longer providing that discount?
Yeah. Through you again, Mr Mayor. Thank you very much for your question, councillor. There was last year 3,767 or 33% of the assessments paid in full at the start of the rating cycle. And the savings or the amount that cost council was 174,000. So that's 174,000 would now be able to be proportioned towards council services.
Yeah.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you. Councillor Barber, could you just detail for me the other avenues that people would have? Because my understanding is that it's not necessarily the 2% being taken up by people that have a need to save 2%, in that it's often just a convenience of paying things up front. But could you just detail for me the avenues that someone finding it difficult to pay their rates would have in terms of support from council?
Thank you, Councillor Henry, for your question. Yeah, it's interestingly in the research we did as well, councils that weren't offering a 2% increase were getting very similar amounts of ratepayers paying the full amount in their first instalment. So those who have the cash flow often like to pay straight up, so they've got that, I suppose, expense out of the way for the year, but then others like to pay in instalments based on their cash flow. There's also the pensioner concession as well, which sits at $322 per annum, and that won't be affected, so pensioners will still be able to access that. You bring up a good point around financial hardship. So we have a financial hardship policy in relation to rates and service paying. So that's on our website, and it's very confidential in the way that we work through that, and we're very happy to work with anybody who's finding financial hardship to work payment plans and so forth to help them pay their rates in any way we can. So yeah, there are other avenues, Councillor.
Councillor Rainsford.
Exercise tonight, Director Barber. I've got a few questions, but rotate. My question is, the cinema seems to have popped back into, on page 19, as a community hub. Now, I remember being here in September 2024 when we had the discussion and we had to take the cinema out because of the extra expense. And I didn't, we were on the lines that there was an alternative plan for the cinema. So is the cinema going to be part of the community hub? And I can't talk about the plans that we've seen, that the people haven't seen yet, but is it in or is it out? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor, through you, Mr Mayor. So I think this council has resolutely said that Hamilton will have a cinema, and we are currently exploring options through the design of the gallery, that be included in the Performing Arts Centre. And if we get, I guess, a proposal from our architects as to how that can be achieved, that is to the council's satisfaction, that's where it will go. If that is not feasible and not to the council's satisfaction, we would look back to the community hub as an option for the cinema. I'll just add that we're lucky both are in design phase, so it gives us that flexibility.
Councillor Rainsford.
Will there be community engagement on the site of that, not just council, but open to the community?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, there will be. There has been to date, and so both the gallery plans as they evolve and the library community hub plans as they evolve through their various iterations will be exhibited to the community. I think first up is the concept plans for the gallery have already been out to the community for extensive consultation. I believe at the June meeting we'll be asking councillors to endorse releasing the concept plans for the library community hub for community comment. At some stage through the design processes, the library will be incorporated, I expect, to one of those buildings, most likely the gallery building as it connects with the Performing Arts Centre.
Councillor Campbell.
Yes, Director Barber. Obviously, this is going out to consultation, the draft budget and the long-term financial plan. We're very heavily reliant on big capital project grants. If these don't come to fruition the way we'd like, does that concern you, especially from a long-term financial plan perspective?
Thanks for your question, Councillor Campbell. It doesn't concern me. I think we've been extraordinarily lucky in this community that we've been able to secure federal grants that will build these generational projects to a point that detailed design is done. So that gives us an opportunity to be able to go and get the funding we need, and we reflected that funding within the long-term financial plan. But if the funding doesn't come, we'll be able to be agile and change that as we need to. So that's why we do the long-term financial plan every year as a council. It's very important for us in the development of these plans that we do that, so we are agile and can change things based on what funding we see coming towards us. But let's just say we're going to be more prepared than most councils by having those plans completed and being shovel ready and being able to put them in front of state and federal funding bodies to show that we can deliver. That's the very important thing that we need to have in place. It's very clear with the work that I've done and speaking with federal and state departments is that the number one thing we need to be able to demonstrate to them is that we can deliver within a time frame, and to have everything ready to do that is critical to be able to secure that funding.
Councillor Manning.
Question on road funding, maybe for Director Scowen. In the report, there's no proposed increase to road funding in this budget, unlike the previous 5 years. Can you please detail how we fund our road works? And then the second part would be the price of oil is making things very expensive, particularly roads. And do we have a strategy of how we're going to fund roads should the price increase or decrease or how we go about that, please?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Manning, for your question. And please bear with me. I might just read this because there's a number of figures and year references. But effectively, the bulk of state council's funding is through a program called Roads to Recovery. The Roads to Recovery program is the largest source of funding for our capital program and specifically our roads program. The Roads to Recovery program is funded for a 5-year period to the value of $17.47 million. Each year, council is required to submit the program details back to Roads to Recovery in terms of defining how we're going to expend those funds that financial year within the 5-year period. Council adjusts the timing of the funding allocation as required. The 2026-2027 budget that you're currently considering is a reduction compared to 2025-2026, however exceeds funding for the 24-25 year by $596,000. This amount does not have a direct correlation on the amount spent on roads and funding, has not been reduced for roads capital expenditure. I might just come to the second part of your question in terms of the current fuel chain supply and price situation. It is a watch and act, and so we are monitoring on a regular basis, not in isolation, but also with our neighbours and also with state government authorities around what are those immediate implications for council now, not only with our internal services in terms of road making, material supplies, etc., but also some of our capital projects where there is a chain issue in terms of contractors, existing contracts. We will continue to do that on a regular basis, and we will need to adjust accordingly. Through the preparation of the draft budget, we actually put forward to council 3 options, if you like. It's the worst case scenario through to the best case scenario, and we've been supported with council in terms of that conservative approach, but we will continue to monitor.
Thank you.
Further questions? Councillor Manning, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I will. I'd just like to start by saying that I found the draft budget really easy to read and understand. I don't know if it's just that I've got a budget under my belt, but I thought it was quite clear in the descriptions of the measures that we're using in it, so thank you to the people involved in that. And I'd like to thank community members who all put forward budget submissions and all the time that they spent preparing those, submitting and presenting to council. I'm sorry that we couldn't fund them all, but I appreciate the work that was done as part of that. I know some residents still think council is responsible for roads, rates and rubbish, and unfortunately, if you think about it like that, all 3 of those things are more expensive this year in the budget. The price of oil is making things hard, capital works, roads and waste collection, the fuel prices have gone up. In this budget, council proposes to increase rates in line with the rate cap and has removed the discount for upfront early payment of rates. And that rate income is now used to generate fund council services and infrastructure. The reality of today's councils that we're not just roads, rates and rubbish, we provide services, and importantly this budget there are no cuts to services. We maintain 70 odd services while investing in capital works and maintaining existing assets and planning for generational projects, which is also important going into the future for our future residents. Our capital works program is mostly upgrades to property and renewal infrastructure. There's a heavy focus on things in Hamilton with Hylac, Showgrounds, PAC, Melville Oval, the church on Brown Street, design and construction of the art gallery and hub. But the reality is that Hamilton is the biggest town in this Shire, and most of the assets council is responsible for are in Hamilton. However, planned road projects are spread out across the Shire, and we've got 1.9 million set aside for capital works on the pools, which are also spread across the Shire. Hopefully we can get more than we think we can get done with that. Additionally, we've got the master plan for the Wandon Falls Scenic Reserve and fencing on the north end of the Cavendish Town Square, as well as $250,000 for community partnership grants that are available to anyone that's wishing to apply. And this year the draft budget will go out for community consultation. It didn't happen last year. Is 2 weeks enough? Is 28 days enough? It's going out for 2 weeks, which is better than last year. I look forward to hearing from residents during this 2-week period if that is sufficient time, and I'll leave it at that.
Discussion 4, Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, obviously it's a big document, and it's taken a lot of time and effort. I look at it from the strategic objectives perspective. Number 2 was the business economy and the tourism. I appreciate the intent behind the budget strategy and long-term financial plan, and everyone wants Hamilton to succeed. But my concern is that a lot of the business economy section reads as aspirations rather than a measurable economic plan. Infrastructure and cultural projects have great value, but regional communities ultimately survive on jobs, business confidence, tourism and population retention. I'd like to see clearer economic growth strategies alongside the capital projects. How do we attract new businesses, new industries to this region?
Discussion against? Councillor Rainsford.
Thank you. People shouldn't think that I'm against development. I actually supported the purchase of the Walkers buildings long before we actually ended up purchasing them. I support building and redeveloping our gallery, and I was at the table when we had designs presented for a gallery on Lonsdale Street, and I was at the table when the business cases that were for the Lakeside project were used as the business cases adapted to council deciding in October 2022 to redevelop the Brown Street site for the gallery and redevelop that site.
Point of order.
Councillor Barber.
Can I just please, I appreciate what you're saying, councillor, but we're talking about the budget that is going out to draft now, not a decision made in 2022.
What's your decision on that point of order?
Yeah, Councillor Rainsford, yeah, if you could just limit your conversation to the budget that's in front of us on the table.
So is the budget in front of us not about building the gallery, demolishing buildings and building
If you wish to
gallery?
speak against it, yeah, speak to
So
what's
it's part of
within... Let me finish. Speak what is within the document in front of us.
So I'm speaking against slowing down our economic development, which concurs with Councillor Campbell's mood of his comment, that we, and because of these interruptions, it's hard to know how much time I actually get to speak.
It's still 3 minutes, that hasn't changed, and when this sort of discussion takes place, we hit pause on the clock, so there's nothing to fear there.
Thank you. So the issue is we're delaying. We don't know what the budget's tonight. I've been told we should be ready to pivot and to be adaptable. And I haven't seen the business cases for what we're doing on Lonsdale Street. I haven't seen the business cases, the new business cases for the gallery. I haven't seen the actual application that we have. I haven't actually cited the whole application for the RPPP funding. I'm concerned about the cost of living, and I have a personal view that when every day I'm reminded about the wars and the demolition or the damage through floods and fires, that we are so ready to demolish buildings that could still serve a purpose to attain a brand new gallery on the same site. And I have an ethical problem with that. So that's just my perspective of not being wasteful and also valuing what we have and also valuing the history that we have there. So I actually support a Hamilton Gallery. I support a better and improved library. And that's why, and also I'm concerned about the long-term financial plan, that we've got so much external funding. And it worries me that after being on this council in 2004, that's still not going to be 2032 when the gallery that was on the table in 2004 is not going to be finished. And that depends on us getting all of this funding now. So I think all of my comments are very relevant to what we're doing now. It's about due diligence, it's about having the business cases, and it's about engaging with the community. And I'm concerned that Thompson Street's not even in the budget. We've got a motion in December to support Thompson Street. We haven't got a report yet, so, and it's not in the budget to actually...
It's time, Councillor Rainsford.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Henry, discussion 4.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, I guess, touch on a few points that have been raised. In regard to the long-term financial plan, the gallery and the hub, I think what I place a lot of faith in is that from what I can see in the last 5 years in council is we have a plan A, B and C to achieve what this town desperately needs, which is investment in itself. We know that we can't ultimately rely definitively on federal and state funding. So we have plans B and C to still invest in ourselves that create economic diversity without federal and state funding. We also have philanthropic backers and an incredible, I guess, lineup of ducks in terms of key architects and funding that is for design and development that very rarely happens. And so when I look at this financial plan, what I see is, yes, this gallery has been spoken about since 2004, but this is, in the last 5 years, shifted us so much closer. And we're always going to find a reason to not do things in terms of there's always going to be something on the table. And I think when you look at, you know, a changing climate in terms of extreme weather and lowered rainfall, those things are going to get even closer together. What I see in this budget is, one, I see that we are prepared to have multiple plans that take us away from relying on state and fed. That we have multiple plans that actually even position us to take into account and pivot quickly on things like rising cost. And we have a plan that seeks responsibility when we have rate capping with a CPI that continues to go up and rate capping doesn't match it. We have mandates from state government to do things that we're not reimbursed for, and yet we're still seeking efficiencies. I take my hat off to any organisation that can work within those confines and still have a visionary set of ideals that they're seeking to benefit the community. We know we need a budget, and this is what a budget does. We know that we need a budget that offers opportunity for our young people. We know we need a budget that offers economic diversification. We know we need a budget that is able to pivot. We know that we need to continue to service and maintain, and we are well above, even in this budget, the state average of what we maintain. I think we can sit here and we can say pessimistically times are hard, and yes, I see that. I know that from my own business. However, at some point, we have to acknowledge that this is still a visionary budget.
That's time, Councillor Henry.
Okay.
Any further discussion for Councillor Barber?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to firstly say well done to Nick and his team. It's a huge document. I think, am I right in saying the spreadsheet's got 9,999 lines on it? Is that right?
Thousands, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number.
Something like that. It was a number that I get confused at looking at a spreadsheet with 10 lines on it, mate. So well done to all the staff and Director Barber for delivering the budget. And I'd just sort of like to reiterate Councillor Manning's point with the fact that, you know, yes, we've removed the 2% reduction on the rate paid up front, but that, what, $170,000 I think that's a saving back into council has enabled, and it shows with the budget and how well it's been handled, that we haven't actually affected any of the services that we provide our community across the entire Shire in this budget, that they're all being kept. So I think it's fantastic work and well done. And also with the 10-year financial plan, if everything, you know, touch wood, goes the way we hope, that, you know, that's working towards a surplus, which puts us in a pretty good position as far as a small regional council goes. So, thank you.
Councillor Manning, anything to close?
Yeah, I'll just touch on a few points from the discussion. Councillor Campbell mentioned business, economy and strategy. In our operational budget, we've got funding for a new economic development strategy. Our current one is 10 years old. That's significant investment in the economy, as well as our 3 major projects. So now I can tell by the look on people's faces that you go, there's another strategy, consultants, etc. But same as the detailed design, you need something to start with to go forward. Valuing history, we all value history, only we need to value future at the same time. We have a Director of Sustainability and Infrastructure, so now we can design new buildings that will last beyond what our old buildings used to last, that can provide new things that we need. So we need to look to the future. The gallery simply won't go ahead if we don't have the detailed design and the design of our projects, as we've heard over and over, get them shovel ready. Yes, it's just words and nothing happens, but it's funded. And at the end of this stage, we'll be in the box seat if the funding comes next year, the year after, whenever, it's there ready to go. And it's better than sitting here doing nothing, investing money into assets that we know are falling over. Oh, that's where I'll be.
Go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.2, surplus land, 11 Low Street, Grosvenor Place, 8 David Street and Elizabeth McPhee Streets, Hamilton. Director Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, in February this year, Council resolved to proceed with the public notification process for the community's opportunity to provide submissions to the proposal that the following 4 properties would be released as surplus land with the intention to sell. Those properties are 11 Leahy Street, Hamilton, Grosvenor Place, Hamilton, 8 David Street, Hamilton and Elizabeth McPhee Street, Hamilton. Councillors, this process did exactly what it was intended to do, and we ended up receiving 59 submissions in total within the defined period. Sorry, Councillor Ransford, you Oh, keep going. And it's been really insightful, and I would like to acknowledge the information that has been provided by the submitters, excuse me, because it's brought to the fore historic information that otherwise we would not have access to, together with local knowledge, which is imperative. Councillors, the report's before you with recommendation for your consideration. Thank you.
I have a mover. Councillor Rainsford.
Thank you. That Council 1, having given public notice of its intention to sell the following properties, acknowledge the submissions received and the formal correspondence to be provided to the submitters. A. 11 Leigh Street, Hamilton. B. Grosvenor Place, Hamilton. Lot Residential 1, PS 511147. And C. 8 David Street, Hamilton. And D. Elizabeth /McPhee Street, Hamilton, Lot 1, TP 913631. It's good I can still read without glasses. I don't have glasses yet. 2. Not to proceed with the disposal of A. 11 Leigh Street, Hamilton. B. Grosvenor Place, Hamilton, the lots out. And C. 8 David Street, Hamilton. And 3. Defer the decision to dispose of Elizabeth /McPhee Street to undertake due diligence, including stakeholder engagement on disposal options. Put it to Council.
Seconder, Councillor Manning. Any questions of Director Scanlon? Councillor Manning.
Might be more of a question for Director Neeson. Do we currently have a strategy for open space for the Shire?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, in planning, we actually don't have a specific strategy that details contributions that would be made for developments when doing subdivisions. So we actually at the moment have to use a standard percentage rate, but quite pleasingly, one of the things that sits within the draft budget that you've just endorsed to go out includes funding to develop an open space strategy. This will give the planning team a little bit more flexibility rather than just having to apply a flat rate for any subdivisions that come in terms of contributions that developers would make. So not at the moment, but quite pleasingly we are looking to develop something in that space.
Any further questions? Councillor
Would it
Rainsford.
be, sorry, Would it be within our guidelines for process that we couldn't put a stake and a sign on the block so that people in the vicinity can just see that something could be happening if council's made a decision to consider selling this block? That's been asked me, why don't we make it very clear just to put something on the block so people, including doing a mail out of the immediate vicinity, which didn't happen in this time. Couldn't that be in the process?
Correction? Sorry. Can I ask the CEO to correct that piece of information because there was a mail out?
I think
I'm allowed to ask for a piece of information to be corrected, is that correct?
Yeah,
Through you,
Director
Mr.
Scanlon.
Mayor. Sorry, I might just pick up Councillor Rainsford. I understand you're talking about post this decision.
No, at the early process.
When we were doing the initial consultation, yes, that could be something we can factor in the future.
So my question is, how do we actually make this process better? So the question is, and we were told that we were following the guidelines at the time, and yet we've uncovered some information that we didn't potentially have, like being as recreational or greens, whatever they were for that development area. So my question is, how can we improve this process? Could we put a sign up? And could we ensure that people are mailed out, whether they have or haven't? But we've heard various reports, so I stand to be corrected in that. But we've all been out talking to people. So can we do, it's part of the process, can we actually improve this process?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, Councillor Rainford, we can improve it. So just to confirm, we did do letterbox drops. We didn't do a mail out as such through Australian Post. We spoke with residents and there was a couple of on-site deputations with a couple of councillors instigated by local residents for particular sites. Also our standard social media and print media as well. So the minimum requirement is a public notice, and we all know not many people read public notices anymore, and so exactly. So yes, we can improve it. There's a number of ways, but that is our standard current comms and engagement process. That's okay.
Councillor Manning, did you have a question for any clarification on the?
Can I clarify a governance rule? Is that so within the governance rules it states if there's something that's been said that I believe to be incorrect, I can ask the CEO to correct that piece of information. Do I need to call a point of order before I ask to do that?
It can just be through the chair, through the mayor.
I can just, okay, thank you. No further question.
Okay. Councillor Rainsford, any further questions? Councillor Rainsford, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I look forward to discussing it with all of the applicants as to whether they did or didn't, and we can talk about that at the next meeting. This I think is it's been a journey for the councillors. It's been an education. This came through in the February meeting, which I wasn't really saying too much for obvious reasons. But it's probably important that we have all the information on the allocation of these sites before we go out to a public process. I think that there's been a good effort, and I congratulate the community for their input. It is difficult, and we've got more issues to deal with these blocks as to what happens to in the future, what's the model of management of these blocks, and I look forward to there being a little bit of innovative discussion as to how these blocks could be managed or used if they are a community space. It seems to be there's different situations or MOUs with the different blocks, so that's something for the future, and I look forward to seeing how we handle point 3 with the Elizabeth McPhee Street blocks, which is a surveyed road currently. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell, discussion 4.
Yeah. Look, very contentious issue. A lot of people were annoyed about some of the processes and all that, but hopefully we get that right in the future. It shows the people power, what can happen if they all band together and this council was listening. But the reality is that this wasn't a case of let's just clear the decks to make things easier for the council. These are just places that technically we are supposed to look after, and it costs money. That is just the reality. It costs money to maintain these places. Obviously, we're listening to the people, we're not going to do anything about it, but we can't always do that.
Any discussion against? Further discussion for? Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No, I'd just like to say, just reiterate what Councillor Rainsford's comment was about the process. I think it does need to be streamlined and maybe changed up a little bit, but that's something we can discuss and work out, because the general feeling from the residents, and I spoke to people from Grosvenor Place and also from Lee Street, was a little bit, I suppose you would say, felt blindsided, I suppose, to a point. So I think that just needs to be tightened up, definitely. But I think this is a good example of community coming together and voicing and approaching the councillors and showing that if people actually do band together and are a subject to them that they're passionate about, you know, that they live in that neighbourhood or they live beside these blocks and you see them, how they get utilised, that a decision can be, you know, it's not always just black and white, that obviously we've got to listen to our community. And this is a classic example where all of us listened as councillors, and it was decided that that's how the motion was rewritten, that the block shouldn't be disposed of because we need the green space. They're loved by the community, they're utilised well, they're areas that are very important to that neighbourhood. So I think it's well done to the community members for standing up. And definitely I think it's a positive outcome.
Councillor Manning.
Speaking for, I won't repeat what Councillor Campbell and Councillor Barber have said, but it was very heartening to see different communities come together and support each other. I regret that it's caused much distress to many, and will commit to reviewing the process. I'm particularly the description of surplus to needs, and we found out from the community consultation that these blocks were anything but surplus to needs. They're much loved green spaces. Selling these properties, council had still met the minimum standards for public open space, and we heard from Director Neeson that we're going to develop more, was the word strategy or was it different?
Policy
strategy around how we do public open space and how much we need. Personally, I believe we should be aiming for better than the minimum standards when it comes to public green space. We're not short on space for development. We've got Lakes Edge in the works. But the critical aspect is the community consultation, and I thank everyone that came out and spoke up and did so in a respectful way. The more of that we can get going, the better the outcomes will be. So I endorse the recommendation.
Councillor Henry.
I guess I'm just reiterating, thank you very much to the community who sought us out, and I really valued the amount of people that I got to have conversations and cups of tea with, and to be able to be walked through what you saw was of value, but also what community was contributing to space as well. And we really need that, in that we're a small council with high costs, and you know, those community partnerships go a long way.
Anything further for Councillor Rainsford to close?
No, I'm happy with that.
Okay. We'll go to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Item 12.3, public exhibition of governance rules. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council, Section 60 of the Local Government Act requires Council to adopt and keep in force governance rules. Governance rules must include the following: conduct for council meetings, conduct for meetings of delegate committees, form and availability of meeting records, election of the mayor and deputy mayor, the appointment of an acting mayor, election period policy, procedures for the disclosure of a conflict of interest by a councillor and a member of council staff, and must provide for a council to consider and make decisions fairly and on merit, and institute decision-making processes to ensure any person whose rights will be affected by a decision of council is entitled to communicate their views and had their interests considered. Council last adopted the governance rules on 21 June 2023. Council delayed more recent reviews of its rules, while the local government Victoria, in conjunction with the sector, developed model governance rules, which were anticipated to be released in December 2025. The model governance rules have been developed, provided a uniform approach to meeting procedures. The release of the model governance rules has been delayed, and as such, councils are progressing their own reviews as an interim measure. The reviewed governance rules are attached for consideration, and this report provides an overview of the changes, with a recommendation that council endorse the draft governance rules for public exhibition for a period of 14th of May 2026 to the 28th of May 2026 inclusive. Councillors, the recommendation is before you for your consideration.
We have a mover, Councillor Barber.
I'll recommend that the council endorse the draft governance rules for public exhibition for the period 14 May 2026 to 26 May 2026 inclusive.
Seconder, Councillor Manning. Questions of Director Barber? Councillor Rainsford.
Does it deal with the management of the process if somebody's breached a code of conduct? Because where is that included? Because currently, if somebody's in breach and an arbiter makes a decision, a councillor has to take it to the Supreme Court. So is that dealt with in this section? Actually, what actually happens if there's an arbiter that makes a decision? How can it be challenged?
No. No.
Thanks for your question, Councillor. No, that's not within the governance rules, that's within the Act and sits with the state.
Councillor Rainsford.
Was councillors consulted about that change? It seems to have been out up in the ether, as far as I'm concerned, that is there support by the local government that you actually have to go to the Supreme Court to challenge a decision?
Point of order.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Councillor Manning.
Well, just on the basis that's got nothing to do, it's irrelevant. It's got nothing to do with our governance rules. That is a state issue, and anyone can advocate to the state to change their legislation. We have no control in our governance rules in how that plays out. It's separate, not relevant to the discussion.
Yeah. Councillor Rainsford.
Different question. Apparently this actual model of governance hasn't been made public, only to our governance officer to interpret, which I think has probably done a huge job, but it's not actually been released by the state, from what I gather, until next year. And the same with the transparency policy. I find that interesting that it's not up there on a public site for us to sort of go through. We've got an interpretation which I think is probably very accurate and very well done, but why are we working on this and potentially changing these things when it's not even out as a public document?
So, Councillor, just to clarify, so you're talking about the model governance rules?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the model governance rules, there was a lot of work done. They've been delayed. So we just felt that they'd been delayed and that, as we've said in the report, these rules haven't been looked at since June 2023, and we thought it was time to have a look at them and bring them back to council, especially given that we've got a new council. So normally we would do this in the first year of council and look at the governance rules, but we held back, as most councils did, thinking these governance rules would come forward in December of last year. I might add as well, we have reviewed the governance rules, and Carly and the team have done a great job with that, the model governance rules I should say, and look to mirror some of that, so when they do come in, we've already got those processes in place.
Yeah. Councillor Henry.
Thank you, Director Barber. Could you just detail for me the relationship between our governance rules and the Local Government Act and how they interact?
Thanks for your question, Councillor. The way they interact is just by virtue of the fact that we're legislated that we must have the governance rules that are adopted by council to be able to form how we conduct our meetings. The reason that we're looking at model governance rules for the sector is obviously it's something that every council has to do by virtue of that part of the Act, and it would bring it in line across the state and of course ensure that there's not 76 councils doing different things and being able to adopt the one document.
Councillor Manning.
Just out of interest, so details and changes to notices of motion which councillors can raise to be on the agenda of a council meeting. Could you detail for me the ways in which a councillor in their role can raise issues important to them in their community? It's not just, my understanding is not just notice of motion. What are our organisational avenues for raising issues from the community?
There's a number of ways you can raise them, councillor. They can be raised directly with officers. Obviously, they can be put through as a request, which councillors often do. There's a record of those requests that comes through from councillors that we table as a record to ensure that those requests are dealt with. So that's probably the main ones is through direct contact with officers and bringing those through the request system.
Any further questions? Councillor Rainsford.
No, I can talk about it in the comments, that's right. Thank you.
Councillor Barber, you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just very briefly, thanks to Carly, Tanya and Darren for getting this done, because you sometimes rely on the state government to get things to you and it doesn't always happen. So we've got on the front foot and we've obviously done our own governance rules until that model code of conduct's released, which would be great that it's released and it'll bring all the shires in the state in line with one another. So that's fantastic. No, just great work, and it's good to have those sorts of things in place with the governance rules and knowing what's right, what's wrong, and how to proceed forward and do things correctly.
Discussion for? Discussion against? Councillor Rainsford.
Look, there's a lot of good stuff in here, but the fact that there's questions on notice the submitter can read their questions on notice, which is very good. There are some good times. I've got some problems with you have to have two councillors. It's probably practical that way, but how can you actually get things on the agenda when you've got 6 councillors that feel one way and the other person? They might even be a whistleblower, and it might need to be something that's tabled in a public place, because briefings can't be public. But the one I've got concerns with is the notice of rescission with the CEO to propose a notice of rescission accompanied by a management report where after the meeting it's determined a resolution can't be acted upon. The current rules don't provide any provision to the CEO to submit or report recommending rescission. I would have thought the process would be that if it's a serious matter, there's a budgetary, financial, or health and safety issues, the councillors could be made aware of it, and then it could come back to council as a report. I think there's a general, and with respect, I think there's a general concern that councillors need to, we're put here for a reason, and we are to serve the people through our executive, and I just worry about that. But look, hopefully the people will make some comments on that. That's one of the reasons I'm talking about it. And the points of order, I mean, just I've experienced over years that people don't agree with me. They call a point of order. If they don't want to hear that's something that is quite relevant to be said, they call a point of order. And usually it's
strangely point of order.
Yeah, it would have been ironic.
And I'll tell you why.
Councillor Rainsford, I'll ask you to take your seat.
Sit down. Yep.
Councillor Henry.
You know, there's a reason why we keep calling a point of order, because you're off topic and you infer somehow that the rest of us are doing something nefarious or out of the act, or I'm not sure what it is, Councillor Rainsford, but you expect us to sit here and have this constant denigration of our integrity, and yet you wonder why we call a point of order. I think it's obvious.
Councillor
So
Rainsford,
is the point of order being up?
I'll ask you to continue. You've got 1 minute and 4 seconds to go
Is that
speaking
a point
against.
of order, or was that a personal criticism of another councillor?
Point of order. The point of order, Mr. Mayor, is that Councillor Rainsford is actually off topic.
Councillor Rainsford, I'll just ask you to speak against the motion that is in front of us.
Can I ask a question? Because you can ask a question at any time, can't you? So I actually don't understand the information that's on points of order, updated references to the model code of conduct. So I suppose I want more information there. I'd love to see the whole document. It'd be really lovely. But I will look forward to seeing that so that we can have another discussion. Thank you.
Councillor Barber, anything to close?
No, thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Manning.
I'll speak for. I think it's good that we're updating the rules. There's always room for improvement. Personally, I don't feel that any of these changes prevent a councillor from performing their role. Personally, I think that councillors have sufficient avenues to raise key community issues and achieve outcomes, and I don't think that requiring 2 councillors to sign off on a notice of motion is unfair or prevents any issue from being raised. After all, a notice of motion to be carried, you would require at least 4 councillors to carry it. So if you can't get 2 councillors, I'm concerned with, we're here to serve the people. We're on council time. This time is precious and it costs ratepayers money. Council business needs to be effective and efficient. I have concerns when things that come up that aren't investigated properly, or, multiple reports are requested of officers. That's their time that they're spending on this. And yeah, I have no problem with having 2 councillors to sign a notice of motion, because it makes the organisation work effectively and it saves us money and it puts less pressure on things that are potentially irrelevant. Thank you.
Councillor Barber, to close.
Nothing further to add, Mr. Mayor.
We'll go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Going to change the pace. Item 12.4, award contract 2025044, street sweeper. Director Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council officers have recently undertaken a procurement process seeking to award a contract to purchase a new street sweeper. This process was undertaken and advertised through the municipal agency's vendor panel. That process included a good response from 3 suppliers, and the recommendation is before you.
Mover, Councillor Campbell.
Wow, changing lanes. That council award the contract 2025-044 to Romex Sales for the supply and delivery of one Iveco Road street sweeper for the tendered lump sum price of $487,670, excluding GST. Authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute contract 2025-044 and any other documents required by or to give effect to the terms of the contract on behalf of the council.
Seconder, Councillor Barber. Any questions of Director Scanlon? Councillor Manning.
Director Scanlon, how much do we use our street sweeper? Is it a heavy use item?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Manning, for your question. We've had our current street sweeper for 8 years and it's done 165,000 kilometres. In terms of its use, our peak period is autumn, so that coincides obviously with leaf litter, but it's also the end of our roads program, and many of you would have seen our work at the moment in terms of our urban streets, and so we use our sweeper as part of that process. During the year, our street sweepers work across not just within Hamilton but out of town, so it is used elsewhere, but certainly autumn's our peak period.
Councillor Rainsford.
I've got a question. Yeah, we like the street sweeper and getting stuff out into the gutter. My question is, can we ever look at doing something on the street? It's going to take 7 years for this streetscape project. Can we ever look at, it's off topic, this one, can we look at something that you drive along on the footpath to pick up those and push those, suck up those leaves?
I'm happy to talk to Mr.
It's off topic.
Thank you, Councillor Rainsford. We are constantly looking at innovations, and we have trialled a couple of both operable and robotic units for our footpaths, our reserves, etc. So where we can gain some efficiencies. It's fair to say that area is advancing very quickly, and we've had some fantastic trials, and I think it's only, a year or two away that we're moving into that space.
Tomorrow would be great.
Tomorrow would be great.
Councillor Campbell.
No, I'll just speak to the motion.
Any further questions? Councillor Campbell to speak to the motion.
Yes. First of all, want to take my hat off to the outdoor staff. They are obviously a massive cog in this organisation, and you can't do the job properly unless you've got the right tools. The good thing about this street sweeper was the previous one went for 15 years, this one hopefully a bit longer. We should get close to maybe 80k return from trading that one in. We should get a 5-year warranty. We'll have to confirm that. Is it 5 to 7 years, Mark? Or?
Correct.
Correct, yeah. So that should be good. But yeah, the reality is we have to give our outdoor staff quality machine to do it. This is going to be effective on the main streets. And as I say most of the time to Trevor, our manager, what Trevor wants, Trevor gets.
Any discussion for? Against? Councillor Campbell, anything to close?
No.
Go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.5, Art Acquisition and Collection Policy. Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council's the Art Acquisition and Collection Policy governs the acquisition and deaccession of works of art for the Hamilton Gallery permanent collection, including donations, purchases, gifts and bequests. The policy ensures that all acquisitions and donations comply with the federal government guidelines of the Cultural Gifts Program, other council policies, state and federal policies, guidelines, industry standards. Councils, as you know, the Hamilton Gallery collection was established in 1960 through the generosity of the Shire bequest of 781 works. This collection now totals 10,000 artworks. Significant strengths include European decorative arts, Asian art, colonial Australian works, contemporary art, and the largest Gunditjmara collection on country. Cultural Gifts Program remains the main acquisition pathway, supporting public donations with tax incentives. This policy ensures clear, consistent decision making aligned with best practice museum standards. It's been developed internally by gallery staff but informed by sector benchmarking and professional expertise, aligns with national museum standards and government cultural requirements. A key change in this policy is the make-up of the Work of Art Committee structure due to organisational changes and changes to various roles. There's no direct budget impact from this council, other than I would say the staff do spend an extraordinary amount of time. People are very, very kind, and they will come to us with, we have a collection of 50 pieces of art that we'd like to bequeath to the gallery, and everyone needs to be worked through and assessed by the gallery team to determine whether we will bring that into our collection. In terms of our council plan, the policy supports our priorities of community engagement, tourism and good governance. The policy will be publicly available once adopted, and so now before you for consideration.
We'll have a mover. Councillor Manning.
I move that council adopt the art acquisition and collection policy, and 2, rescind the previous art acquisition and collection policy.
Seconder. Here we go.
So first,
Councillor Ramsay Grounds. Any questions of Mr CEO? Councillor Rainsford.
Yeah, look, this one, it's just seeing the youth charter listed there, because I've been to numerous Year 12 exhibitions, you know, and whilst a lot of the artwork that they acquire is probably more mature and everything, there's been some amazing youth stuff, and I just wonder whether there couldn't be a bit of a lens put on acquiring youth, or where does that come into it? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor. It's really important that our gallery collection is, I guess, guarded to a very high standard to continue to build and enhance its reputation, which is part of our goal of using it to attract tourism. I think you raised a good point, and our gallery has spent an extraordinary amount of time building its family audience over the last 2 or 3 years through engagement of youth. We do engage local artists, and we have various programs where we bring young artists in from our secondary schools and even younger, and have them mentored by an experienced artist, which we think is incredibly important, as you obviously do as well. I would actually call out the Friends of the Hamilton Gallery too, who for the first time this year ran a program where they, I might not get this exactly right, so if any friends of the gallery watching, excuse me for that, but they asked Year 12 students to submit works of art. A prize was given for the first whoever came first in that competition, and the winner was funded to go and do a 6-week program in Sydney for art. So it's not just the gallery team, the Friends of the Gallery team are really onto the importance of this as well.
Any further questions? Councillor Manning, you wish to speak to the motion?
Only to say that our art collection is a different type of asset and requires a different type of policy. It's not something that my background has really covered before, but it's very interesting, all the things that need to happen to collect art and keep art, and it's essential to the gallery. So, yep, great policy.
Discussion for? Discussion against? Councillor Manning, anything to close?
Nothing.
Go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.6, Public Art Policy. Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this policy provides a framework for the implementation of public art within the public domain in our Shire, and applies to all applications to undertake public artworks, whether initiated internally or externally, including those arising through commissions, grants and major capital works projects. Public art is one of the most accessible forms of art and contributes to community identity, vibrancy and tourism. Everyone engages with public art in some way through the spaces they move through every day. Public art includes permanent and temporary projects, cultural and historical interpretations, creative design incorporated into functional infrastructure, street art and graffiti. This policy has been developed collaboratively by the Hamilton Gallery team and the Infrastructure and Sustainability Directorate to ensure best practice and that public art is considered early in project planning. This updated policy replaces the previous 2012 public art policy. The policy provides the overarching framework for delivering the public art. Again, it aligns importantly with state and federal guidelines, who are funding bodies for a lot of these installations that are done. Importantly, Council, there's more work to be done in this space, so After the policy's adoption tonight, we then need to move on and establish a working group, and we hope that certainly before the end of June we've presented the terms of reference of that working group to Council for approval, and then following the development of a working group, we will need to develop a public art strategy which will actually guide the assessment of any applications for public art. Councillors, before you is a recommendation.
Have a mover, Councillor Rainsford.
I'm happy to move.
Do you want to do it? No, you do it. How do I say it?
You just get up and read it.
Oh.
Councillor Ramsey Grounds.
I recommend that Council 1 adopt the public art policy and 2 rescind the previous public art policy.
Second to Councillor Rainsford. Any questions of Mr CEO? Councillor Ramsey Grounds, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Oh. Well, just on what Mr CEO said, I'm new here, so I haven't read the entire everything. However, I think art is so important to the cultural expression of a public space, and it's a way to engage all sectors of the community, and I really commend this policy in this motion.
Well done. Any discussion for Councillor Rainsford?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I think the idea is to have some councillor involvement and community involvement in the working group. And I had the honour to be involved years ago when we decided on the location of the nucleus and the farmers and the Ted Kennett statue. And I think there's going to be an opportunity for new councillors to be involved and enhance and build on what we have, and to have new perspectives and encourage new thoughts and development. So it'd be great. Thank you.
Any discussion against? Further discussion for Councillor Manning?
I'm one for aims of things, and I really liked the aims of this policy, which included to promote and facilitate quality, diverse public art initiatives in Southern Grampians, to allow everyone in Southern Grampians community, regardless of age, background, gender identity, income, ability or location, to access, create and experience public art. Last one, to celebrate local stories, past, present and future through public art. Fantastic.
Any further for Councillor Ramsey Grounds? Anything to close? Go to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Item 12.7, S11A, Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Wait for it. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council appoints many powers to its staff through instruments of delegation and authorisation. The S11A Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation appoints council staff to be authorised under the Planning and Environmental Act 1987 and allows them to fully discharge their duties and responsibilities under the Act. The S11A Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation was last adopted by Council on the 10th of September 2025. The instrument has been updated to reflect a recent staff change and is attached for council consideration. Council, the recommendation is before you for your consideration.
Mover, Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll move the recommendation as written.
In honour of.
In honour.
A seconder, Councillor Manning. Nearly Councillor Henry. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Barber, you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Any discussion for? Against? Councillor Barber, anything to close?
No.
Go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.8, Draft Policy, State and Federal Election, Council Candidate Policy. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you. Councillors, with the upcoming elections forecast in 2026, a draft policy has been prepared outlining the requirements for councillors who seek to become a prospective or nominated candidate in state or federal elections. Councillors are elected to perform their duties in a lawful manner and must comply with relevant provisions in the Local Government Act 2020, including standards of conduct, conflicts of interest and misuse of position. The policy outlines the requirements for councillors who wish to become a prospective or nominated candidate. These requirements include: must declare intention of candidacy in writing to the CEO as soon as practicable. The CEO will then advise all other councillors and have it minuted at the next available council meeting. To avoid perceived or actual conflict in their position as a councillor and a prospective candidate in a state or federal election, the council must commence a leave of absence from the day after it is announced at the council meeting. If the councillor who is a prospective candidate is the mayor, then the deputy mayor or appointed acting mayor in lieu of a mayor will serve as the acting mayor for the duration of the leave of absence. Councillors, the recommendation is before you for your consideration.
Have a mover.
Helen.
Yeah. Councillor Henry.
I'll move the motion as written, please.
Seconder. Councillor Barber. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Henry, you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Any discussion for? Against? Councillor Henry, anything to close? Go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 13, there's no notices of motion. Item 14, there's no urgent business. Item 15, Mayor, Councillors and Delegate reports. Councillor Barber.
Mayor, I'll provide mine to governance.
Councillor Rainsford.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to welcome our new councillor, Councillor Tam Ramsey-Brown. So I hope you enjoy your experience and I'm sure it will benefit the community. On the 18th of April, the Cavendish Red Gum Festival, it's held every 2 years. The council did contribute to this event and it has been an amazing success, and it actually came out of community planning years ago that we wanted something that was going to build community pride, fundraise and attract people to live in the area, and I think it's been achieving those goals. So there were thousands enjoying a beautiful clear autumn day, and congratulations to the volunteer committee and all those stallholders. There were 50 stallholders. They reconfigured things this year. It was absolutely amazing. Artists and environmental forum was really interesting, and the quality of the sculptures along the Wannon riverbed was outstanding. On the 24th of April, I attended the GWM Water Stakeholders Workshop at Horsham, and Tim Hutton came along, who's got an interest in the Wannon River at Nigretta, and Brian, my husband, came along as well, and we were lobbying for a fair deal for the Wannon River to reduce the water harvesting. It's killing what was once a vibrant river, reducing it to a series of saline pools and impacting farmers and communities, especially Cavendish. The 25th of April, Anzac Day, I attended the Coleraine Dawn service. It's a very well attended event with excellent guest speakers, and I enjoyed the RSL, I think they call it rifle breakfast with the community. I then attended the Cavendish RSL service before joining the Combined Footprints and Hamilton Singers at the Cenotar in Hamilton.
Councillor Rainsford, I
Sorry.
apologise to interrupt,
Yeah.
but Councillor Henry just has to depart, so do you mind if I just pause you there for a moment?
That's
Sorry.
okay, good idea.
Councillor Henry, just to finish off.
That's okay. I'll just forward. It was a very busy month, but I'll just forward my attendance and to be included in the minutes.
Okay,
But thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll note that Councillor Henry.
Good.
Sorry, Councillor
That's
Rainsford.
okay, almost finished. But yeah, Anzac, congratulations to all the volunteers and speakers at this important day of reflection and respect for those that have served. On the 28th of April, community engagement at Branksome. Councillors all heard of infrastructure and maintenance issues, including a call to display the Australian flag amongst the other flags in Southern Grampians Shire website, and as we display multiple flags. The 12th of May, I attended a land care's Lillicopkin CMA workshop. That's today on the farm dams, including the values of fencing off nature parks. It's always interesting, and also a talk on the economic outlook for beef and lamb with Sam Quilty last week at the college, and that was really well attended and very positive. That's it. 12th, what else do we do today? That's it. Oh, Cavendish, this is the important one. It's 10 years of the shed, the Cavendish men's shed, which council supported with $16,000 of funds and the state government $60,000, and they got $30,000 from the community. It's been 10 years, and it's serving a benefit for mental health and getting blokes together. There are some women being involved, but it's very much a space where they can just enjoy. And it's the Coleraine people were there, and there was somebody there from Pomona. So it's quite a network. They all help each other, and they make a lot of money at the Red Gum Festival selling their wares. It's really good. Thank you.
Councillor Ramsey Grounds. I know it's been 24 hours. There better be a stack in this.
I'd like to thank everybody at the table that has made me welcome, and everybody here that's made me welcome. It's been a very steep learning curve, and I'm amazed at this opportunity, and I look forward so much to getting into every corner of our amazing district and into people's hearts and minds and listening to them and learning, and I feel really privileged to be here, and it's been great over the last 30 hours. So thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I'll be short and sweet as I always am. It's been busy this month, especially on the farm. Had a very good autumn break, which a lot of people will be happy with. Obviously Anzac Day, I believe one of the most important days on the calendar. I was fortunate enough to go to Coleraine, the parade there, and yeah, I love going there. Great people, fantastic. Then there was 28th of April, Branksome Community Engagement. Obviously, Councillor Rainsford brought up what they were talking about. Sunday Mother's Day, I was able to walk the lake, which I was pretty happy about for the breast cancer walk, and some of the people decided to run 10 kilometres, so that was even a better effort. And yeah, that's it.
Councillor Manning.
Yep, I'll start by welcoming Councillor Ramsey Grounds. Congratulations. Anzac Day, I attended the Dunkeld Dawn service, which had huge numbers. It was fantastic, beautiful weather, and then followed that up with the March Behind Hamilton Brass Band in Glen Thompson, and back again and listened to their guest speaker in the hall. 28th of April, I also attended the Branksome Community Dinner. 29th of April, I attended a yarning circle with Gunditj Meering representatives and architects and project leads from our 3 major projects, which was the beginning of consultation about getting a cultural design brief together for our major projects, which is quite exciting. On the 3rd of May, with my Sarah Terra team, we had a practice hike down the Hamilton Coleraine Rail Trail, which was very long, but it was a terrific trail. Particularly enjoyed going down the river and in the parts where the rail trail's built up, and you get a really lovely view of the scenery. Thank you to Sue Brumby and David Rendell for walking us through the first part and showing us all the amazing work that the volunteers have done to get that up and running. It's a huge amount of work, so congratulations to them. And last week I met virtually with a few people. I've started researching a bit into the future of pools, community pools, to see what we can do with ours, and spoke with some researchers from Monash University who are interested in the value and the social and mental value of pools that isn't necessarily seen in a cost per usage report, and also an expert in local government who also has an interest in the same area. So I'd really love over the next few months to do a bit of research into that to benefit our Shire. That's all.
To finish, the 16th of April I attended a Rural Cities event in Geelong. The same day the refinery caught fire, but I had nothing to do with that. It was good to hear the challenges and opportunities that large cities have. They're no different to ours, just the numbers they express are a little bit bigger than ours. 24th of April, Hamilton and Alexandra College Anzac service. The boys' choir should be very proud of what they did. And later that day, Rob Kenner spoke about a VC recipient and his father, Ted Kenner, about his story, which is very interesting. Anzac Day, shout out to Jackie Tribe and her team in Penshurst for one of the best dawn services going around. Also then to Hamilton for the rest of the day. Congratulations to Jared and his team at the RSL, Legacy, Cadets, all the council staff that made the day happen, in particular the Parks and Garden team. 28th of April, the Branksome Community Engagement Night, hot roast beef rolls, and the 29th of April, the Yarning Circle with the CEO and fellow councillors and directors. And that is it. Nick, interesting to note, 10,000 art items at the gallery, one more item than your budget lines. Something to work on. Declare the meeting closed at 7:05.